Namaste. My heartfelt gratitude to all of you for being here and wishing you all a very happy new year. When we reach the ashram, everything is happy. We forget the cold, we forget the fog, and that's what these beautiful surroundings where the shrine is there does to us all. And thank you, Richa, for the lovely invocations. The last invocation was on Maha Saraswati. Maha Saraswati is one of the great powers of the Mother. And today we will look at a prayer. We will look at a prayer written by the Mother on April 18, 1914. And very beautifully in this prayer, the Mother, as Maha Saraswati, one would say, Maha Saraswati stands for perfection goddess, ensuring perfection of works and detailing. And in this prayer, on April 18, 1914, we will see that how in details and how very like a scientist, the Mother is analyzing and trying to figure out something which is bothering her, and how precisely she is able to pinpoint the difficulty. Though she is Yogeshwari, she's at the peak, maybe she has achieved so much spiritually, yet she is able to pinpointedly bring out that small veil that is preventing her from moving ahead. So our thought that we are almost there, we have reached. Our thought, this very thought acts as a veil, and once we become very rock sure and overconfident that now we have it, we have reached that stage in spirituality. When we think we have it, inconscience, in fact, seems to dip further. And there is a shift from almost being there to back to square one. This yoga organically develops like life, as Sri Aurobindo has called it, compared it to a vast sea, and sometimes it will be smooth, sometimes it will be rough, and it does not move by any fixed path or any fixed methods. And what we may train ourselves into various methods and practices and rituals, but what we can never train ourselves is for the unexpectedness, for unexpected things to happen. But behind all these ups and downs and the unexpectedness, the underlying truth is that we are all moving forward. It's like a wave motion. Our life is like a wave motion, ups and downs. So the path is always forward. Amidst all these ups and downs, there is only a direction, and the direction is forward. Everybody's and everything is moving Godward. So if one is prepared for the unexpected, then one can say that we are fully prepared. And outwardly, we cannot train ourselves fully into it, but yes, inwardly, we can make a lot of progress in tackling or in looking at the unexpected things that happen. The Vedic rishis, they have talked of moving from hill to hill. We climb one hill, then we again have to go down to go to the next hill. You cannot jump across the hills. So you climb one hill, we go down, and then we have to climb yet another hill, and again go down, and yet another hill. So in yoga, we see that there are periods when everything is very good. Everything is very satisfying, one is very enthused to follow the path, and everything is good. And we find that suddenly, after this great rise, we feel that everything is obscured, everything becomes very dull, everything becomes very dark. And the Vedic rishis, they used to call it like the dawns and the nights, or you can say long exiles from the night. And sometimes the nights would persist for a long time. We have all experienced that. They extend for a very long period. So, why this happens is we are not, we think that we are one personality, but we are not made of one piece. There are many parts in us which don't get enlightened at the same time. There are parts in us which are enlightened. There are parts in us which are still in the dark corners. And the dark corners also pull those parts which are enlightened. And the enlightened parts pull the parts which are in the dark. So there is a constant intermixing that is going on. And because it is very difficult to harmonize each and every part in us around a central idea. And that takes time. Sri Aurobindo, his famous lines from Savitri, his soul, mind, heart became a single sun. Only life's lower reaches remained dim. We feel that we have attained something or we are in that great height, but then something again happens, something terrible again happens, which makes us forget everything, and we feel that we have gone again into that pit. So all parts are not ready at once, and to think that we are almost there, it starts acting as a veil. So with my limited mind, the title which I gave to this prayer was the Incorrigible Veil. We think that the veil is lifted and we are seeing the light, and one more time the veil comes and obscures everything. So in a period of great aspiration, when you feel you are just there, suddenly something happens. It may be in the outside world, it may be in the circumstances, it may be something of a realization or a revelation within. And also, we find strangely and interestingly that the reverse is also true. So when we are in that state of aspiring, because aspiration is a upward movement and there is a narrowing of, there is a concentrated movement upward, so there is a narrowing. And this causes some stress. It's called the stress of aspiration. And then when we are experiencing that stress, nothing is happening. We are aspiring, nothing. No light is coming, nothing. And then all of a sudden we find that when we are least prepared and we are not even aspiring, the light suddenly comes. And then we feel very enlightened. So both processes are going on. After intense periods of aspiration, there can be a fall. And sometimes after a dark period, you will feel also very enlightened. So, because aspiration is an upward movement and there is a stress, and widening, when we are in that widened state, we are able to receive. So, yoga is not like a straight line. The straight line, the mother says, is not the shortest distance between 2 points, according to the mother. Interestingly, she has said. So, yoga is a wave-like movement, and we also have to reclaim not only the heights, but also the abysses. And heights are actually already, we have already claimed the heights, but it is the abysses. So in this prayer, if you look at this prayer interestingly, and all the prayers in the prayers and meditations, so when I was looking at this prayer, I was suddenly reminded of the prayer on April 7th, where the mother, there is a very famous line by the mother, and we never forget that. Never hast thou known how to die integrally. And we are constantly changing. We are constantly in even our cells. Even there is a lot of movement in our atoms also. So all the cells are changing constantly. But somehow we refuse to change. In our life, we are very reluctant to change, whereas everything in us is constantly in a state of flux and changing. So in this prayer, in April 7, if we look at, she's talking of, she says, what kind of courage is mine? And somewhere she has remarked that there is some laziness in her. Imagine the mother writing about her laziness. So what kind of courage is mine? She says. And then she also gets the answer that accomplish everything unreservedly and make thy surrender very complete. Surrender completely. She gets that answer. And in the subsequent prayers, we also see that this separate I-ness that the mother is feeling, which is bothering her, she is able to overcome that. She is able to overcome that separativeness, and she can see only the divine, and her I or that self has completely united with the divine. Then one would wonder that after such a great height, she has already united, she has let go of the separativeness also, that is the ego, and yet she's facing something, a problem here, a veil again. How is it possible? And the mother and Sri Aurobindo both have said that the aspiration must be constant, but it also has to be very vigilant. And the experience that the mother is describing in this prayer is, one could actually correlate, one could see a lot of similarity in Savitri, Book 3, Canto 1, where Ashwapati, Savitri's father, has already he has realized everything, in fact more. Yet, and he is nearing the supramental transformation, but yet he has to do something else. And he is experiencing the wailing. He says that when it was there, all was beautiful. Means when you are already in that heightened state, when it was there, the presence, all was beautiful. When it withdrew, everything seemed very meaningless. And his very famous lines from this canto, its presence made the smallest seem divine. Its absence made the greatest actions dull. So what does Ashwapati do then? Then lest a human cry disturb the truth from coming in like slippery grains, he tore desire up from its bleeding roots and offered to the gods the vacant place. This one can relate. Let's read the prayer. So this is the great act that Ashwapati does. Every little trace has to go. This usually happens at a stage when one has achieved almost everything and the supramental transformation is just near the corner. And so it is right there in the outermost nature now that one has to make this change. And this is the most difficult part. April 18, 1914. One also has to remember that there are sudden revelations, sudden realizations, and sudden epiphanies, but there are no sudden transformations. Transformation it demands, even from the greatest, a very sustained effort, and it stretches over decades, maybe many lifetimes too. So the incorrigible veil. Prayer, April 18, 1914. Yesterday morning, the last veil was almost rent. The last stronghold of the blind and ignorant personality seemed to be on the point of yielding. For the first time, I thought I had understood what true impersonal service was. And the obstacle separating me from the integral realization seemed very fragile to me and on the point of disappearing definitively. But the necessity of my outer duties tore me away from this beneficent and happy contemplation. And when I was obliged to return to the outer consciousness, the veil closed again, and now seems to me darker than ever. Why this fall into the inconscience of night after so great a light? O Lord, Lord, wilt thou not then let me escape at last from ignorance and become one with thee? Now that I have known and seen so well what the work upon the earth must be, could I not realize it? Am I then riveted to ignorance and illusion? Why? Why this night after so great and pure a light? All my being is tense in a call of anguish. O Lord, take pity on me. So prayer, when she has already experienced that the separativeness has almost completely gone. If we look at the prayer and if we look at the words of the mother, how accurately and how in detail she is describing. Yesterday morning, the last veil was almost rent. The last stronghold of the blind and ignorant personality seemed to be on the point of yielding. So much detail. Look at the word almost. She's saying, I am almost there. So, and it is such a contrast from the state that we are in. She is Yogeshwari. She has mastered the Buddhist yoga. She has mastered the yoga of the Gita. She has mastered the chakras, all the chakras. Not 7, but 12. She could see even beneath the feet. And after all this, at this height of her spiritual attainments, she is now again seeing that veil come in. And what about us? We attain a little, हम थोड़ा सा meditation में बैठ जाते हैं, and we think we are very enlightened. We feel, oh, we have attained so much of a peace and calm, So it's so much of a contrast with us. And we get so puffed up. But here she is at that height, and she is again imploring the Lord. There is a divine anguish in her. One can feel in the prayer. For the first time, I thought I had understood what true impersonal service was. And the obstacle separating me from the integral realization seemed very fragile to me and on the verge of disappearing definitively. So she says, oh, now it's going, it's almost gone, done away with. So she thinks that everything is now gone, the realization is now going to be perfect and integral. So the mother herself has talked about, certain whispers below the threshold, very subtle and difficult to detect. And she has talked of these as subterfuges. These are very tricky and you can say dishonest linings beneath the surface and very difficult to detect. In that heightened state, when we think that the realization, integral realization has happened and everything is very fine and very uplifting, yet there are things which are lurking just beneath the surface. They may be just a few, but nevertheless, even one of them, even a single trace of it, is capable of again, creating that veil and, preventing us, rather sometimes make us dip even further. Because it is that last bit that one has to cross. And then there is a sort of, one can say also impatience. There is a spiritual impatience one can feel. So she's saying that it is so fragile. I thought now it is almost gone. Everything has just finished and I am there. So, and one has to be very vigilant. And because if we are not vigilant, we can miss them. And we will not be able to detect them also. They are so subtle. So it is, we come to a certain stage and we say, okay, I am this instrument of the divine, this channel. I am just the instrument. We often say, I am just the instrument. I am just the medium for the mother's actions or the divine acting through me. So, and it is very easy to say, the divine is doing everything. And we believe the divine is doing everything. But again, when we talk of these underlining things or subterfuges, what is set in not so subtle is in a very, very subtle and in a very fragile way is that, okay, the divine is doing everything, but there is a subtleness in me and through me that is still there, lurking. And even when somebody comes and says something very nice to us, though we know कि समानता रखनी चाहिए, you should not get, even somebody praises you or even criticizes you, you don't get affected. But when somebody comes and praises us or even expresses gratitude for anything, there is a certain happiness inside. So this is not easy, and this yoga is all about that. It's not easy to even overcome these little things. Integral realization is not realizing only the God within, but in life, mind, body, heart, emotions, everything. So that's why the Gita refers to it as Samagram Mam, in totality, in everything, in all parts. And all parts are not enlightened together. No, we've discussed it just now, that some parts are enlightened, some are not. But all the parts need to be centralized and harmonized around that divine presence, only for the divine presence. Even not for the sake that I be an instrument. It is only for the sake of the divine. The mother says, but the necessity, something very interesting, but the necessity of my outer duties tore me away from this beneficent and happy contemplation, and when I was obliged to return to the outer consciousness, the veil closed again and now seems to me darker than ever. So, being in contemplation is easy, and it is much easier to feel that the barrier or the veil is removed when one is in a state of contemplation or in a state of meditation. It is very easy. But when one is involved in worldly duties, when we are acting in the outward world, being in a meditative or contemplative mood is difficult at that time. When we are in meditation or contemplation, we feel, oh, this needs to be done, this can be done, this has been done. I have reached that state, whatever, we also feel that the veil is removed. Ab sab kuch prapt ho gaya in contemplation. But the moment you come out and start acting again in the outer world, you will face situations and it will become very difficult for you to again go back to that contemplative or that meditative state. And in the contemplative state, one often, you can say, is confused with what the real surrender is. Real surrender is in everything. In meditation, outside meditation, in the world, within yourself, everywhere. So internally we feel that things are very easy. But in the outer consciousness, things are very difficult. And the outer surface is the most difficult to change. Any work, because when we are in the outer world, we have to work. And work means that there is a narrowing of consciousness. It implies by its very nature that the outer the field, the more you have to narrow out. And you may be in a vast consciousness inside. But the moment you work, you have to enter into a narrow state. That is why conceptually you can say, yes, the divine is beyond good and evil, which is true, beyond right and wrong, which is true. You can also enter a state where all these things fall away. But the moment you act, you have to make a choice. When we are in the outer world, we have to make a choice. And the choice will not be based upon any human idea of right or wrong, but the moment you act, the choice comes in, and at any given point of time, there are several things around that choice. As we say, that you are free to make a choice, but you are not free from the consequences of that choice. So inwardly you can contemplate, but when you have to act out, you have to narrow down and concentrate and act upon only one or two elements at a time, which is the requirement of that act or that work that you are doing. So, what if let's take an example, what if I am prepared for any outcome? I am prepared for any outcome. I have convinced myself I am in that state, I am in that wideness, and I am prepared for the outcome, any outcome. But others are not. Your company expects a certain outcome, and I expect a certain outcome. And that outcome will be only very beautiful if it aligns itself to the divine will. If the company's will and the company's outcome and my will and outcome, they coincide and they are the same as per the divine will, then the best results will happen. If not, there will be a clash. If not, there will be a disturbance. Then there is a divine anguish which is expressing why this fall into the inconscience of night after so great a light. Not ordinary light, not any light, but it is so great a light. And when the mother says so great a light, we cannot even imagine what that greatness or that light is. Most of us would not even regard it as a fall. We will regard it as our natural state. What she is describing as a fall into the night is our natural state. We are always preoccupied with the outer world, the material things, and we think that if we are not occupied with these things, we are not alive. Because we are alive, we have to be like that. But for the yogin, one who has realized everything so deep and to such a great height, to that level, coming to that external consciousness is also, it can also cause a lot of agony. And the mother has been able to pinpoint that. And that divine anguish is there. And the divine anguish can also become, if the aspiration is very strong and constant, this divine anguish can actually push you forward. It can actually be a great impetus in achieving. Like the mother has been able to, she's realized that. Most of us, we don't even realize very little things. We don't even realize the bigger whales. Here for the mother, it's a very subtle whale, and she has realized it. And we would be very happy to be in that state. But she is not resting because she has to reach that. And the supramental transformation is just around the corner. And she will dedicate 4 or 5 decades of her life now. So even a very small trace which can act as a veil cannot be allowed. And the mother has recognized this. The mother is feeling that. And every time this kind of a veil is there, there will be an uneasiness. There will be an uneasiness, and it will make the yogin turn inward and see what could be the cause for this. So, why this? She's asking, why this? So, transformation is a very detailed process. It cannot be sudden. So, there are different stages that are necessary, and evolution cannot take place in homogeneity. Different layers are required for that. We also say, dheere dheere re mana, dheere sab kuch hoye. So it's like instantly nothing can happen. And one of the 4 aids which Sri Aurobindo has mentioned, the 4 aids like Shastra, Utsaha, Guru, the 3rd one is Guru, and the 4th is Kal, time. And time is very powerful. So true yoga is for the larger good. And yoga is meant for the collective. At least this is what modern spirituality is about. This is the yoga, the integral yoga is all about that. And for it to take place in all its integrality and in all totality, one must not grudge the time. And it will take time. There will be many, many layers. We may have removed many layers from within ourselves, But the moment we step out, and the moment the work starts for the collective, and first of all, if we have not realized and the integral realization has not been there in totality within us, the collective will also not proceed through us. We will not be able to. And the moment even a little bit of, one can say, enlightenment is there, different parts of our being, some are able to centralize around that and harmonize around that central idea and that divinity, which is meant for the collective, it will happen. But it takes time. It doesn't happen all at once. Total transformation cannot happen all at once. तभी तो मदर कहती है ना कि that we must not, if we think that we have to make ourselves very pure and perfect and complete and then we go to her and offer ourselves. She says, no, come to me as you are. And then she will work on us. And then whatever is needed to be removed from us will get removed. But she has never said that it has to be totally complete. Transformation is a process. It will go on happening slowly. And that is why we have to also give it time. We should not expect instant results. And we should not also feel very elated and not get very puffed up with little things or enlightenments that are coming our way. We all have to go on offering it constantly so that every part in us can be a channel. In totality, we can become that instrument. And there should not be any kind of haste or any kind of impatience in that. The very fact that we have offered everything to the mother, even our difficulties, our sorrows, our joys, and every little bit that we have offered to her, the very fact of offering and that very fact of surrendering, not in totality, but whatever is in us, whether good, bad, ugly, if we are just surrendering it and we allow her will to act upon it, whatever is the difficulty in us, whatever is the bad part in us, whatever is the unwanted part in us that needs to go, it will be gone. It's not that it will be crushed. The same things will be transformed in a very fine and in a very, you can say, better way for the yoga to proceed in the collective. That the mother will ensure. Also, I am reminded of a book by Nikki DeCarteret, where it's called The Soul Power, where she has narrated these several stages, of on the spiritual path. There is a pattern that she has talked of. There's an awakening. I don't recollect the exact stages now, but it moves something like this. Within awakening is there, then spiritual knowledge comes, then spiritual practice comes, then again the dark night of the soul comes, then there will be awakening, then there will be bliss, and again similar kind of pattern can repeat itself. So there are different, it's a very beautiful book, Soul Power by Nikki DeCarteret. And here she has narrated these different stages of basically life itself and the transformation itself. And Sri Aurobindo has also talked of the triple labor, aspiration, rejection, and surrender. He constantly talks about that. In this book, The Mother, he has highlighted that. And here he has said that the aspiration needs to be constant, vigilant. And this book, if one reads, one would really understand, choti si, patli si, it's like a pocket book. But it is so powerful. This is the first version of The Mother that he wrote. And here he has narrated about aspiration, the triple labor of aspiration, rejection, and surrender, and the powers of the mother that are acting in the universe. And this divine anguish, or one can say the divine discontent that the mother is feeling, it is now going to become the stimulus for her aspiration to become even more intense and even more, you can say, pinpointedly towards something that she has come on this earth to achieve now. So, the mother and Sri Aurobindo, when they say that we have experienced, there is not a single difficulty that we have not experienced. So when the mother is writing about this, she has experienced all these things. And one disciple had once asked the mother, "Mother, why did you come like one of us, why you did not come in your, natural, which is your super form? And then the mother had said that, my child, if I did not come like you, how could I explain to you or tell you, become what I am? So they underwent this process. They came to this life to show us something. And they have undergone each and every difficulty. So when the mother is pinpointedly writing about the difficulties in the prayers and meditations, so one can see the trajectory of the yogic path. She herself has undergone it, and she is telling us directly through these prayers that these are the ups and downs you are likely to face in your spiritual. And what is the way out? And the way out also the mother shows in every prayer. She is offering, she's telling the divine everything. She's not hiding anything. And she's not gloating over it. She's not getting puffed up over anything. In fact, there is a anguish. And once Sri Aurobindo had said that there was one problem which was troubling him, and hundreds of times he had to repeat. He went back into that same difficulty, went through that same difficulty, and he was not able to overcome. Hundreds of times. One small difficulty. So similarly, so any difficulty that comes, it should not be considered that it is a very small difficulty or a big difficulty. A difficulty is a difficulty at any stage in the sadhana, and the best way is to offer it and open it and ask for the divine light to fall on it. In fact, there is a very strong prayer of the mother in prayers and meditations where even a small suggestion was making her ill. It made her sick for 4 or 5 days. But then when she offered it to the divine, she was able to bring out, it's like a canker, she was able to draw out that worm and put it to the light of the divine. And then everything was absolutely okay. So this is what she's trying to tell us through these prayers. So she says, and what does she do when she's facing this difficulty? She cries out to the Lord. Oh Lord, Lord, wilt thou not let me escape at last from ignorance and become one with thee? So she's imploring. There is an imploration. There is a prayer. She's invoking the divine and putting it to the divine. She's not saying, okay, this is the problem now, let me see what I can do and let me analyze. When she's not able to figure out what she's doing, she's putting it to the divine and telling us that we also should do the same. For every bit of the problems that we have, just put it to her and the answer will come. Now that I have known and seen so well what the work upon the earth must be, could I not realize it? Am I then riveted to the ignorance and illusion? So there is discomfort. She's saying, do you want me to do that? Am I meant for this? Now that I feel that I have, the work in front of me is so huge. Would you want me to go back again to that ignorance and illusion? And when the mother is using the words ignorance and illusion, we must not confuse it with our ignorance and our illusion. Her state is very high. So it is not a mere ignorance or an illusion that she is talking of. She is at state, she is at that height where the earth, the transformation of the earth has to take place. So the level from where she is talking of ignorance and illusion is hers. We don't know. So we should not even judge and compare it with our own illusions and our own ignorance. Yet, what the mother is bringing out is the process is still the same. The heights may be different, but the process that everybody has to undergo is this. We are actually trapped in our ignorance of ignorance. We are not even aware that we are ignorant most of the time. It is this kind of anguish. If I can just take a small example, and I'm sure most of us or many of us sitting over here would have undergone this. When we go to Pondicherry or when we come to this ashram, we feel, it's like, you breathe in that air of Pondicherry and you feel the presence so strongly. You feel that whole your body, even the physical mind, everything, you can touch that. But when you come back, Amit is sitting over here, he has just come back from Pondicherry. And when you come back to your own city where you are, you feel suddenly bereft of so many things. The same house, the same place where you have lived for so many years, now they don't seem to you to be so attractive and so fulfilling. You're constantly full of that presence which you felt over there. And you are longing for that. So, in my own limited mind, I could relate this anguish is something, just for an analogy, I have taken it. Yes, there is and we are always looking to again our next visit. When will I again go and sit at the Samadhi in Pondicherry? And when we are there, it's what we feel, that whole thing. So it is that kind of an anguish, but the mother's anguish, of course, she is the world mother. And she's working towards the transformation of the earth consciousness. So we can imagine what kind of an anguish, even though she's saying this little thing, this little wail, but it is not little. It is too difficult. We cannot even imagine at what state she's writing this. Why this night, after so great and pure a light? All my being is tense in a call of anguish. So this need to constantly progress and be sincere about the tiniest of the wails, even the tiniest of the, and be able to identify it. Unless we are very sincere, we will not be able to even identify these little things that act as wail. And one needs to be very sincere when one puts it to the divine. For what purpose we are putting it to the divine? Are we putting it to the divine to remove this veil for our own self, or for the collective, or for what the divine wants us to be there? You have identified the veil, and you know that this veil is also coming. It has a reason, It has a reason why it has come. Okay, because they say, the greater the rise, the greater the fall. It is like that. But then in the path of yoga, we see that initially these periods of lights and dawns, they are very long periods of nights. But then the nights become shorter and shorter. But it doesn't mean that they will become shorter. They will be more intense also. They will be more intense in magnitude. Because now the change and the work that is required of you to be done in the world as an instrument of the mother is huge. And that is why no imperfection can be allowed in that. And that is why these wailings happen. So there is a series of wailings that keep on happening. So what is the thing to do when we are experiencing this kind of agony and anguish? Mother is showing the way, an appeal, call to the divine, call the Lord, call her. For us, it's very easy. Call her, call her, call her. Ma, 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 in everything. The mother has said somewhere very encouraging lines from one of her works, Supreme Discovery. She says, "You who walk into the night, gather the pearls of the night." Gather the pearls of the night. So this darkness also has a purpose. So instead of cribbing and complaining and giving to depression and agony, it is you see why it has come and you offer it to the divine. So this is basically she's trying to listen to the person who has faced the ordeals and walked this night. And the mother and Sri Aurobindo have given us their experiences. They have narrated so beautifully, time and again. So we know, and we don't know what kind of pearls they have, gathered in the night. But whatever they have done it for us, to show us that yes, there will be nights, there will be obstacles, but how to overcome them is also so described so beautifully in the prayers and meditations. And Savitri is all about Sri Aurobindo's yoga. So they have left nothing. In fact, in this book, The Mother, it is so interesting. They have shown us the path. They have walked the perils and they have gathered these pearls. And this is very touching what Sri Aurobindo, how he has described. When he talks of aspiration, he has given every kind of description that is required for us. An aspiration, vigilant, constant, unceasing, the mind's will, the heart seeking, the ascent of the vital being, the will to open and make plastic the physical consciousness and nature. And when he talks of rejection, please read this passage. Everything that we need to reject, he has pinpointedly written. Rejection of the movements of the lower nature, rejection of the mind's ideas, opinions, preferences, habits, constructions, so that true knowledge may find free room in a silent mind. Rejection of the vital nature's desires, demands, cravings, sensations, passions, selfishness, pride, arrogance, lust, greed, jealousy, envy, hostility to the truth, so that the true power and joy may pour from above into a calm, large, strong, and consecrated vital being. He doesn't stop there. Rejection of the physical nature's stupidity, doubt, disbelief, obscurity, obstinacy, pettiness, laziness, unwillingness to change, tamas, so that the true stability of light, power, ananda, may establish itself in a body growing always more divine. So what has he left unsaid? Where have they not showed us the path? What kind of wailings can come? What are those pitfalls? They have made us aware of everything. And they have given us the beautiful power to call them, to invoke them. Ma, Sri Aurobindo, Ma, Sri Aurobindo. So, and the mother has time and again said that don't be disheartened. Even if faith is difficult to accumulate, hope is the key. And it is like saying that the nights are also essential, no? The darknesses are also essential. Otherwise there will be no evolution. So it's like what Amir Khusro said, no? Jeet gayi to piya more, hari to pi ke sang. Even if I lose, even if I fall, the mother is there. She is there, no? So we are always so, we think of our personality, you know. We always are very so focused on our personality all the time. And I have to do this, I have to make this progress, I have to now take this step, I have to go and learn this method, this technique, that technique. But very simple technique mother has said, and Sri Aurobindo has said, call the mother. Put everything to her. And personality is limitation. For us, if we talk of our personality, name, fame, business card, it is limitation. And Krishna, the trickster, impersonal personality. He is everywhere. No? Krishna is everywhere. He can come in any which form. In every kind of relationship he has been. It's not only the bhakta or the, you can say, you know, lover or beloved or anything. Every relationship you see. Every kind of personality he has impersonated in himself. So the impersonal personality. Do everything, but with an impersonal, disinterested love, as one can say. So the mother has shown the way, Sri Aurobindo has shown the way. So it is the yoga, integral yoga is actually the yoga of the infinite. You know, and perfection, one is very difficult to reach. But our perfection, the mother knows perfectly. We don't know. So what is our perfection is decided by the mother, is guided by her. And she will lead us. Perfection does not mean that you reach one highest stage and finished. Perfection is ever changing, ever progressing. And that the mother, when the mother is holding Your hand, Sri Aurobindo, is there. What do we have to fear about? Sri Aurobindo's famous lines, let me end this with his famous lines. He comes unseen into our darker parts, so that there, veiled by the darkness, he may do his work. Even in the tumults of the senses, he comes. April 18, 1914. Yesterday morning, the last veil was almost rent. The last stronghold of the blind and ignorant personality seemed to be on the point of yielding. For the first time, I thought I had understood what true impersonal service was, and the obstacle separating me from the integral realization seemed very fragile to me, and on the point of disappearing definitively. But the necessity of my outer duties tore me away from this beneficent and happy contemplation, and when I was obliged to return to the outer consciousness, the veil closed again, and now seems to me darker than ever. Why this fall into the inconscience of night after so great a light? O Lord, Lord, wilt thou not then let me escape at last from ignorance and become one with thee? Now that I have known and seen so well what the work upon the earth must be, could I not realize it? Am I then riveted to ignorance and illusion? Why this night after so great and pure a light? All my being is tense in a call of anguish. O Lord, take pity on me.